Well, let's turn our attention to this. It's been a year since the July unrest, and residents are still reeling from the impact. Some in KwaZulu-Natal say life has gotten tougher as they struggle with high levels of poverty and unemployment. Newzroom Afrika's Mnisi is live for us in Durban right at this moment. Linda, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I mean, what are residents out in KZN saying a year later since those unrests?
Well, they're still reeling, in fact, in Dogozo from the July unrest. Many of them saying how life has been tough, since those lootings, because many people lost their jobs in that particular process. I asked them about how their relationship has been and what the conditions of living have been in their communities, and they're saying it's actually been worse, given the fact that there are more people now in the township than there was this time last year, for example. So they're saying life has gotten really tough. You'll remember that even the shopping centers in the very same communities were looted at the time, and everything was brought to a standstill. And they're saying, because of how long it has taken to rebuild their communities, they now have to resort to taking a taxi to buy basic goods to the next town, which basically is also struggling with the same infrastructure problems. I want us to take a listen to this.
Ngathi abantu abakwazi ukubekezela yonke into ngendlela okwenzeka ngayo. Ubona no government uthi hayi naye ayikho imizamo ayenza, naye azama ukuthi abantu abanike imisebenzi ukuze bangaphindi kwenzeke into enjengalezi.
All right, so that's one of the residents there giving advice in terms of what needs to happen going forward, because, of course, the standard of living has, of course, dropped, and many are just still reeling from what has happened. In fact, I asked them about, what advice they would give to government, and they're saying government needs to keep a close eye to the situation right now, given, of course, the levels of frustration that people on the ground are experiencing. They're not ruling out another wave of unrest and looting happening, but life has definitely, taken a different turn for them, and many of them suffering the consequences. In fact, I spoke to a gentleman who said even those who are not part of the unrest are feeling the pinch, because everybody on the ground is, affected. Somehow people have to take on their other relatives who have also lost their jobs. So, they're feeling it on their pockets and everywhere else in society, because even the infrastructure in their surroundings is yet to recover. Also, given the fact that a couple of months later, there was, of course, the floods that swept through the province, which made things absolutely worse. Some of the people also losing their jobs there. So the situation here in KZN really is quite difficult. Let's take a listen to one gentleman describing how their daily life is like.
If it affected, ngoba yabo kwasho amabheki lana wekho eduze nje thina besikwazi ukuthi siye presid manje asakwazi uye presid so futhi asithathi amabanga amade before sofika eitolo lapho nasemabheki yabo manje nabantu affected ukugibela uya kwenye indawo kanti isitolo besikhona eduze iyalimaza lento leyo.
All right, speaking about issues like banks and Dogozo, those are things that were easily accessible to them. So now they have to take taxis to go and access those. Shops are nowhere near where they are, and life has really become tough for them. And they say that, the one thing that government can do now is to ensure that they work on the recovery plan, but also make sure that people get jobs so that they can avert another wave of unrest.
Well, thank you very much, Linda, for that perspective out in KZN. Local residents are clearly still struggling from the adverse effects of those riots that we saw last year.